Hello, and welcome to Work Well with Stephanie Wolfe, brought to you by the Whole Food Health Coach LLC, where we make your goals our goals, and you're never alone on your wellness journey. Experience the information, inspiration, and collaboration of our Coach in Your Corner partnership. My name is Stephanie Wolfe. I'm a national board certified health and wellness coach, proud owner of the Whole Food Health Coach, now in its 9th year, and 5-time winner of Best of Gwinnett Award in endocrinology, diabetes, and metabolism practices. Rachel, Sherry, and I invite you to visit wholefoodhealthcoach.com to set up your 60-minute healthy living assessment. Our award-winning 3-phase program is changing lives. Work Well is brought to you weekly and is dedicated to your personal and professional health and wellness. I offer you examples from my own life, health, marriage, family, and business. I share my research, my opinion, and my faith, designed to bring you compelling content, engaging challenges, and practical body, soul, and spirit support on your wellness journey. Work Well comes to you from my personal desire to live long and strong with passion and purpose, die of old age, and help others to do the same. Now, from living rooms to boardrooms via Business RadioX, you're listening to Work Well with Stephanie Wolfe. All right, let's do this. We always start with a funny story, and here in the studio today, I had some pushback on my last joke. So, yeah, I don't know what I could have done to make it any more funny, unless you maybe played a laugh track. But thank you for that. And today, the story is waking up in the morning and the nursing home situation. A nurse says, I work in a nursing home, and one morning I was helping a gentleman who was particularly hard to wake up and get ready for breakfast. I coaxed him up awake and got him ready, starting for the day, and he looked into my eyes with his twinkling blue eyes right in my face and said, "My, you're pretty. Have I asked you to marry me yet?" "No, you haven't," I replied. "Good," he said, because I could not put up with this every morning. All right, I know. Okay, I got the laugh that time and not the wah-wah. Thank you, Mike. All right, so if you've been listening to this podcast, then you know that every week I seek to offer you information and inspiration. I like to encourage you to challenge yourself, change something, improve something, let go of something, pick up something, start something, restart something, or at least begin the healthy self-dialogue to excite and generate movement in the direction of your dreams. So in January, we started with New Beginnings, February, Heart Health, in March, the Marvelous Marriage Marathon month with my husband, Jack Wolfe. And then we did some spring cleaning in April. In May, the Women's Health Month, and June, Men's Health Month. And last month, Aging Gracefully and Finding Purpose. And today starts our August theme, Back to School, and I'm calling it Personal Development Month. So in honor of Back to School, I wanted to say something about breakfast cereals. And breakfast cereals can really be a hot topic in a lot of households. But did you know that $35 billion, that's B, $35 billion is spent on breakfast cereals annually, and it's projected to be $54 billion by 2025 because they keep coming up with new cereals. And the revenue of breakfast cereal segments amounts to $21.32 billion in 2023. The market is expected to grow annually by 2%. And in global comparison, most revenue is generated in the United States, as you might imagine. So I wanted to say a little something about this because it's reported that the breakfast cereal industry uses approximately 816 million pounds of sugar every year. So those are some big numbers. Now, when I talk to my clients, I a lot of times tell them they read the ingredients first and make sure that the list of ingredients, because the first things that are listed mean that's what's most in the box. So I encourage you to do a 363 challenge. Just go to your pantry right now and pull out your breakfast cereal, and it should have at least 3 grams of protein, at least 3 grams of fiber, and no more than 6 grams of sugar. And if you can find one, please give me a call and let me know which one it is. And there are some that actually are on my program just because I really believe in finding something quick and easy for breakfast. But 99.9% of breakfast cereals are pretty bad. So remember that finding things that are non-GMO must have the non-GMO certified product label or certified organic, and that way it can't have any artificial ingredients. And even real sugar, honestly, is better than some of the CRAP that's out there. So the refined and all of those different kinds of sugars and artificial things that are out there. All right, well, enough about breakfast and breakfast cereals and getting up in the morning and the challenges that I'm sure that the parents, at least here in Gwinnett County, have faced because we went back to school yesterday. The kids were in school full time. So I chose the theme personal development for our 5 Thursdays this month, and the title for our time together today, what do you want to be when you grow up? Or you could call it, the places you'll go. And today I'm joined on air by the executive producer at Business RadioX, Dan Braverman.
Hey, Stephanie. Thanks for having me.
I'm so glad you're here. It's going to be super fun to have you on
this side. Yeah.
That's great.
It's a little weird, a little scary, but I'm excited.
Well, Dan is usually behind the scenes here at the studio, and our studio is located in the beautiful complex at Gwinnett Convention Center and Arena at the Gas South District. And Dan and I have actually had some really good after the show shows, and we kept thinking we should have had this on the radio. But we've enjoyed that, and especially the past few months with Men's Health and, like you said, the aging gracefully. So, and I know one of those was your favorite. Am I right?
Oh yeah. Well, yeah. Your show with 2 weeks ago with Jack, your husband, was great. Hearing not only all the different things you've done in your life, but you've done a lot of things, but you've done maybe not even half of the different things that Jack has done. And as someone who feels like I've kind of jumped around from thing to thing in my career, it was really inspiring to hear. And then last week's episode was good too, with when you were talking about finding your what. And you just had mentioned that, I think this was last week and not the week before, but you had mentioned that not everyone, or that a lot of people haven't or think they don't have a purpose. Mm-hmm. And that's a thought that's entered my head so many more times than I can count. So that really resonated with me. But yeah, and then I think you said that that's not true. Everyone here has a purpose, and I totally agree. If you're breathing and you're alive, I think you're winning.
That's right. And the purpose changes over time too. A lot of the time, when we're younger, we think our purpose will be XYZ, and then XYZ doesn't happen, and we find our purpose in other places. Mm-hmm. And that's what's so exciting about trying lots of different things. I don't think there's anything wrong with, staying in a job for 30 years, but there's also nothing wrong with, trying some different things and seeing where, where things really fit for you and where your skills and gifts rise to the top, right?
Mm-hmm. Right.
I love that. Thanks, Dan. So, yeah, and like I said last week, too, sometimes your mess becomes your message. And over my 65 years, that's kind of a part of my story, is from, early pregnancy and starting the pregnancy center and marital type things and, our work with marriages and all of the materials that I've written for women. And I just kind of found it along the way because of things I had need of, or things that I was with somebody who mentioned, hey, this is what's going on in my life. And then I found a way to sort of help them. So sometimes your mess becomes your message.
Yeah, I love that.
I like it. All right. So our direction for today is going to be a little bit different. And I kind of warned you, but of course we didn't practice any of it. But today we're going to look at Dr. Seuss a little bit and his book, Oh, the Places You'll Go. It's one of my favorites, and I a lot of times gift it to graduates just because I think there's a lot to be said here. So I'm going to put you on the spot as I read just a little bit of this. Okay. You up for it?
Yep. Sounds good.
Okay.
Can I interrupt real quick?
Yeah.
Sure.
So what is the theme for today's show? The name of today's show?
The name of the show is What Do You Want to Be When You Grow Up?
When you grow up, what do you want to be?
This is for you.
We're dancing along with this here in the studio. Thank you, Mike. That's awesome.
Little surprise for you. Okay.
Thank you. I don't even know what I want to be when I grow up. I just know I don't want to quit growing up. And I think that's the key to growing up and just really enjoying life, moment by moment. And that's what I love about Dr. Seuss and the Dr. Seuss books, actually. So here's the first one. You have brains in your head and feet in your shoes. You can steer yourself any direction you choose. You're on your own and you know what you know. You are the guy who will decide where you'll go. So schooling. Tell us a little bit about that. Elementary, middle school, high school, college. What kind of things did you learn? You've got a lot of brains. I've picked your brain in a lot of areas, so let's hear it.
Yeah, I think in school, excuse me, obviously learned a lot over the years. But one thing that I don't think I'd learned, or I've never known what I wanted to do when I grow up. I still don't. I'm 30. I don't know what I want to do when I grow up, and that's why I love hearing you say you still don't know what you want to do when you grow up. And I don't know. I remember one specific time in seventh grade. I think it was seventh grade. Sometime in middle school, we had some kind of career counselor come in and speak to our class, and they got all the chairs in the circle, and we were all in this big circle, and this lady came to speak to us just about, our futures, what we want to have as a career. And she basically wanted us to all go around the room and say what we want as our career, like what our plan A is for our career, and then what our plan B is for our career. And so I was very nervous because I had no idea. I didn't know what I wanted to do. And like I said, still don't. But so she was going around the room. And when it got to me, I decided to be honest and say, I don't know. But I did provide her with what I knew I didn't want. I told her I didn't want to work like in an office or like in a cubicle. I wanted to be out and about, on my feet, doing things. And so I kind of had an idea of what I wanted, but I didn't have that like exact career plan A and plan B. And everyone else in the circle, I was the only one who, and there's maybe like 30 people in the class, and I was the only one that had that kind of response. Everyone else had something, even though about half of them said they want to be a chef. But true story. But I've just decided to be honest. Like I don't know about this. And then what she said to me, I'll never forget it, was, well, if you don't have a plan, then you're set up for failure. Oh. And that, looking back at it now, I think like, lady, that's ridiculous. These are seventh graders. But at the time, that really like stung. I was really worried about that. And she actually did. Maybe about a month or two later, she came back to our class as sort of a follow up, and we did the same exercise. And I still didn't have an answer for her, or at least a true answer, but when it got around to me, I told her I want to be a chef because I just didn't want to deal with it.
Didn't want to hear that negativity again.
Yeah.
What kind of seed? I've spoke for career days for colleges and high school, the kids that were getting ready to go to college and decide where they wanted to land. And there's so many different categories, and I don't think for just to come up with a brain surgeon,
right,
versus in the medical world, or something that's a little more generic. And I love that you said, this is what I don't want. I know what I don't want.
Right. And now I understand now how valuable that is. And I've, now that I'm an adult, I think that's one of the most important things you can know is what you don't want. Because I don't know if you'll ever know exactly what it is that you want. Or at least I haven't figured out what exactly is that I want. But I think if you know what you don't want, that's more important than anything. So, I'm kind of looking back at it, I'm impressed with myself that I gave that answer.
I love it. I'm impressed with you too. I think a lot of my clients, when we talk about their careers and things like that, they're in a position that they don't feel like they can make a change or make an adjustment because, even though it's something they felt like they don't want or didn't want, and now they're there and don't know what to do about it because of the golden handcuffs or, the benefits and all the other kinds of things that are there.
Right.
So, and also being honest about that, I think is a very courageous thing, not just, a chef.
Yeah.
Because everybody else was being a chef.
Right. I think that I was probably trying to think of something, and my honesty probably came more from just not being able to think of anything to say.
Okay. All right. Well, I was saying it was courageous. You should have just
thank
no,
you. Well,
it was
again, Again, being honest.
Yeah. Well, you know what? Schooling only can do so much. You know, you can get that head knowledge and you can learn something. How many college kids have gone to college for a specific thing and realized that is not what they wanted to do?
Yeah.
And then, leave kind of disillusioned a little bit and maybe head a different direction just because that was at least it took them thousands of dollars to find out that that was not what they wanted
Right.
to do.
And even more so than that, how many college kids go to study something that they don't necessarily want to do or they're not necessarily passionate about, but they're told they should do this because that career field makes money. You know, maybe they want to be an artist or a performer, but they've got everyone in their ear telling them, "Oh, you're not going to make any money doing that. Go be an accountant." Then they get a degree in accounting and they just hate it.
Yes, yes. Oh, me and numbers, that would never work
No,
for me.
same
That is
here.
so not me.
Same here. I was briefly a marketing major, and then I had to take accounting, and I didn't even make it to the first exam before I dropped the class. And that was what was like, okay, I can't be a business major because I might as well have been taking a foreign language. It didn't make any sense to me.
All right. Well, I think that head knowledge is important. I'm not downplaying, college and college degrees and university. But what I'm saying mostly is that head knowledge can get you just so far, but really it's your passion. You used the word, so I'm going to tag off of that.
Yeah.
It's your passion that opens doors for you. It's your inspiration. Do you have something to offer people? And, we have to be able to sell ourselves before we can sell anything that we have to offer. And that's what I hear from you. And that's what I think has helped so many people to be more career minded or more passionate about their careers is because they love what they do. And so waking up every day is not like a job. It's more of a exciting adventure.
Right. It's very important.
Okay, ready for the next one?
Yes.
All right, the next one is you'll look up and down streets, look them over with care. About some you'll say, I don't choose to go there. With the head full of brains and shoes full of feet, you're so smart to go down not any old street. And let's see, and you may not find any you'll want to go down. In that case, of course, you'll head straight out of town. I say, not giving up, but that where you don't want to go, and that's what you said already. So
Right.
we may have already addressed that. But is there anything else on that topic?
Yeah, I think that yeah, like you said, you'll know where you don't want to go. I think I've experienced that multiple times in my life that I've pursued something and even in some cases had a multi-year career doing something. But then once I realized this isn't what I want to do for a living, I started to find ways, to change that path, and which is kind of where I'm at now.
So did those things feel like failures to you? I mean, I'm sure there was a disappointment in it, because you kind of go in probably wholehearted and then, it doesn't fit or there's not, the same kind of desire to get up. I hear from millennials all the time, not necessarily wanting to work a 9-to-5 job
Yeah.
and, that kind of thing. And with my clients, but did it feel like failure or did it just feel like one thing that you can cross off your list? Because I hope that it's the latter.
It's been kind of both. It just depends on the day. Sometimes it definitely, I felt like a failure because of it. But I mean, what I was most specifically referring to was my previous career, which was coordinating film productions, and I was in that industry for about 5 years, working on film sets, mostly commercials. Started as an assistant, and worked my way up to a more of like a coordinating producer type role, and it was good. I was making a good living. I was doing something exciting, something that I'd never really thought I would ever do before. I'd moved to New York right after college, which is also something when I was in college, I never would have thought I would have done that. And I just kind of did it and pursued this thing and it worked out. And it was fun for a while, but then I always knew, even from the beginning, I always knew that it wasn't maybe exactly what I wanted to be doing. I realized, when I was getting on these film sets and I was meeting a lot of the other crew members, pretty much everyone was like a big movie buff, a big film nerd, and that's just never been me. And I love movies, but I've never been that type of person. And so I think I knew early on that it maybe wasn't exactly what I want to be doing, but it was still exciting. I was making a good living. I was living in New York City and just kind of living a life I never really thought I was capable of for the longest time. So,
Well, what was missing and that brought you back to, good old Georgia
right.
on
Well,
my mind?
yeah. Well, I miss Georgia a lot. Is kind of the big thing. I think for most of the time I was there, I had kind of been planning to eventually come back here. I think the big reason I left is because, the grass is always greener for me. I always want what I can't have, or I always want what I don't have, I should say.
Yeah.
And I grew up in Georgia, spent all my life here, and then I just wanted something new, and so that's why I left in the first place. But after a little while, I just started realizing, I really miss the nature down here. I love all the trees everywhere. I love that even in the city of Atlanta, downtown, there's just trees everywhere. It's just, the nature is a big part of it for me. It feels very healing, and there's just not much of that in New York City. There's Central Park, and there's a few parks in Brooklyn where I lived during my time there, but it was, and I also like the pace of life better down here. Everything's so go, go, go up there, and the mentality is very much, I'll sleep when I die up there. And I like working hard, but I also want to sleep while I'm alive sometimes. I want to have a good work-life balance. But that's kind of really the thing that made me want to get out of that industry.
That makes sense then, because you talk about you were there, the job itself was good and exciting, but the life that you were living wasn't fulfilling. And that's what we talked about all last month was, fulfillment and finding your purpose, not just finding a job, but finding your purpose. So
Right.
let's move on.
Yeah.
Our next little piece here is out there things can happen and frequently do to people as brainy and footsy as you. And when things start to happen, don't worry, don't stew, just go right along. You'll start happening too. So I'm excited because you're here at Business Radio X, and it's been a nice introduction, obviously, and Mike Salmon and Gwinnett Business Radio and all of the great things that have happened to you here. So, and I know that obviously this is a part of what you are enjoying doing. We are hoping that he enjoys it, right, Mike?
Yeah.
Okay. Anyway, we're glad he's here. So, so how did that leap happen for you?
Well, I love Mike for giving me this opportunity, but
We have to say that we're on the air. and
I
Mike
know.
is staring at us right now. No,
I don't want to get fired, but
seriously, we love
yeah.
it.
Well, so when I did move down here, it was kind of there was part of the idea I wanted to move back here, and then I also wanted to get out of that production industry. So I was looking for new things, and I reached out to Mike because I actually interned for him a little bit back in 2016 in my final year of college, and I wasn't doing much back then. He had some other interns that were doing all the important stuff. I was kind of just sitting here and taking pictures during the shows and tweeting from the account. And then I didn't even do it for that long before I graduated, and then ended up moving to New York. But yeah, when I started trying to figure out what I wanted my next thing to be, I'd kind of thought about radio and podcasting just because I'd gotten pretty into it over the past couple years, listening to a lot of podcasts like most people do. And I just remembered, hey, let me reach out to Business Radio X, Mike Salmon. And I reached out, and he invited me to come see the studio, and I came and told him that I'm interested in getting into this, and that if he'd allow me to, I'd love to just come in and help whenever I can. And he was like, sure, come in and do it. And now I'm producing all the shows, and Mike gets to just chill and hang out when I'm here.
He gets to just go play tennis.
It wasn't born last night. I'm no dummy.
There you go. You're no dummy, that's for sure. I think that's some exciting stuff. And a point, if you're listening and you're out there kind of trying to decide, think about the people who would really love to see you succeed. People who are doing some great things like Business Radio X and Mike Salmon. Don't call him, though, because we all are keeping him busy. Or should you call him if you want to start a podcast, for sure.
Yes.
Call Business Radio X, best place on the planet to do that. But I'm just saying that, reaching out to some people, what's the worst that can happen.
Yeah.
And that's what I think is a real good point there. So thanks for that. Okay, next is you won't lag behind because you'll be up to speed. You'll pass the whole gang and you'll soon take the lead. Wherever you fly, you'll be best of the best. Wherever you go, you'll top all the rest, except when you don't, because sometimes you won't. So how do you deal with disappointments? Well, I should keep going here because it says, I'm sorry to say so, but sadly it's true that bang-ups and hang-ups can happen to you. So bang-ups or hang-ups, or sometimes when you didn't, you spoke about that. But what do you do to get yourself back up again?
Yeah, I mean, there's always going to be obstacles in the road, but I just like to focus on what I can control, and it's easier said than done. And I so often find myself focusing on things that I have no control over. But if I apply for a job and I don't hear anything back, or if I apply for or interview for a job, I have no control over if that person's going to want to hire me or not. I can control how prepared I am for the interview, how well I do in the interview. If I have some good work to show them, examples of my work, I can, make sure I do a really good job on that stuff. But at the end of the day, I can't worry about if this person's going to hire me or not. That's something I have no control over. And there's, other bumps in the road. There's sometimes I feel like, maybe I didn't get the same opportunities in life that maybe someone else has, but it's just, that's okay. I am who I am. I have the upbringing that I have. This other person has the upbringing that they have. That doesn't make them or me any better or worse than the other. It's just our circumstances. You have to work with your circumstances.
I love it. Your can do, you can only control what I can control.
Right.
My attitude about stuff, you said, the way I show up for the interviews and those
as long as I'm doing the best that I can do, then just like the book says, you'll be the best except when you won't. And whatever you do, you might not be the best in the world, and you probably won't be the best in the world. Maybe you will, but I think the important thing is being the best, getting the most out of your talents that you can.
Exactly. Being your best self.
Yes.
Very good. All right. So the next says, you can get so confused and you'll start into race down long wiggled roads at a breakneck pace and grind on for miles across weirdish wild space, headed, I fear, toward the most useless place, the waiting place. It says for people waiting for a train to go or a bus to come or a plane to go or a mail to come or rain to go or the phone to ring or snow to snow or waiting for a yes or no or waiting for the hair to grow. Everyone is just waiting for the fish to bite or waiting for the wind to fly a kite or waiting around for a Friday night or waiting perhaps for their Uncle Jake or a pot to boil or a better break or strings of pearls or a better pair of pants with wigs with curls or another chance. Everyone just waiting. And I think there's a lot to be said about waiting, but during the waiting period or during the waiting time, you can get derailed or you can just do what?
Yeah, you can take steps towards whatever it is you're trying to do. It's really a choice, and it goes back to controlling what you can control. But if you're just waiting around for something, if you're waiting for someone to hire you or just, then it's just a waste of time. There's always something you can be doing to get a little bit closer to what you want to do. And there might
even
be
if it's education, right? I mean, because like I said, this is personal development month. So there's certain books we can read and certain classes we can take. And there's nothing about, you're not just waiting for the phone to ring, like all these things, waiting for the, wind to fly your kite or waiting for that better break or, waiting for something, just sitting around waiting for a check to come in the mail.
Right.
And that doesn't work.
No.
Even if you're just making yourself better in some way, physically, emotionally, mentally, that's good. A good way to use your waiting, right?
Yeah, I think that should always be the focus, is just trying to get a little better every day, whether that's just becoming better as a person, better at what it is you want to do for a living. You know, like you said, learn if you're trying to get into a certain industry and, maybe you've been reaching out, you haven't found something yet, or maybe you need expensive equipment that you can't afford, you can always still learn about that equipment. That's the step you can take. You can reach out to other people who do that thing for a living and see if someone will talk to you. There's always, no matter what your restrictions are, there's always some kind of step you could take towards betterment, whether that's personal betterment or, career-wise. There's always something you can do.
I love it. Oh, the places you'll go. There's fun to be done. There are points to be scored. There are games to be won. And the magical things you can do with a ball will make you the winningest of all. Fame, you'll be famous as famous can be, with the whole wide world watching you on TV. Except when they don't, because sometimes they won't. I'm afraid that sometimes you'll play lonely games too. Games you can't win because you'll play against you. And I think one of the reasons I pointed that out is because one of the times we talked after the show was about just being your own personal best, not comparing yourself to others. And, because that can get very discouraging.
Yeah.
Like I've been a writer most of my life and I've published a couple things, just self-published, had big promises along the way, didn't happen for me. And even at this time in my life, I'm thinking, maybe there's a publisher still looking for women's material or looking for, a better way to think about this or that, the things that I've written. But if they don't, I'm not going to sit around waiting. That's why I'm here doing a podcast. I'm just like, there's a way to get the word out. There's a way to not allow something of a disappointment to become, I guess I'm going to quit.
Yeah. And that's something that your grandson Caleb said on a show a couple months ago when you had the whole Wolfe pack here. He was talking a lot about not as hard as it is, try your best not to compare yourself to others. And I do it all the time. I think we all probably do it, especially my generation and the generation below me with social media. And that's part of the reason why I don't go on Instagram anymore, because I was constantly finding myself comparing myself to other people, and not really even comparing myself to other people, but comparing myself to these other people's highlights that they're posting on Instagram.
We only put the highlights on
right.
Well, I have on my Facebook page, I have my devotional is Stephanie Wolfe Ministries, and I'm pretty honest and open on that one. Just in my faith, just praying through certain things and stuff like that. But everything else is like, here I am, doing this in California, and here I am at this retreat, and I'm speaking here, and blah blah blah.
And it is really hard not to compare yourself to people, and I still find myself doing it, and I have to consciously remind myself and just tell myself, like, you're not this person, their journey is different than you. I'll see like younger like internet influencers or internet podcasters who've obtained massive success, and they're quite a bit younger than me, and I'll get in my head, I'll get upset, like this person has achieved so much more in such a shorter amount of time. I feel like a failure. But then, I really think about it. It's like they do a different thing than I want to do. Like in reality, I don't really have any desire to be famous. Like I don't have the desire to do what they do. I'm on my own path. I'm gonna do whatever I do, and that's going to lead to whatever it leads to.
And the way that you do it is going to be so different than what anybody else can do. We're all unique and very special. And yes, go back and listen to a lot of the Purpose podcasts that we just completed, because that was my point. It's like wherever you are, there's a purpose. And so finding and waiting for some big event or waiting for this big break isn't necessarily a good use of every day. I mean, I want to live each day with purpose, and that means I'm going to look for the purpose within this day. Yeah. And, you're my purpose today, Dan.
Awesome. Anyone, I'll just say also, anyone who has, made that big break, whether it's in fame or some other industry, no one who's made it big got there by waiting around for it to happen.
There you go. There you go. It's being discovered that way. All right. So on and on you'll hike, and I know you'll hike far. and face up to your problems, whatever they are. You'll get mixed up, of course, as you already know. You'll get mixed up with many strange birds, as you know. So be sure when you step with care and great tact, and remember that life's a great balancing act. So how do you find balance in your life these days between what has been, where you are now, and where you may see yourself going?
Yeah, I think it's a never-ending search for balance. But I try to do the best I can to well, for one, I think that work-life balance is something that's very important to me. I was talking earlier about the New York mentality of just work, work, work till you die, and that's what led me out of that production industry. Was the closer I got to becoming like a producer, production manager, I started to see the lives that these people were living, and it was no life at all. Like they're just always working. And when I say that, I literally mean always working, constantly. Weekends, they're getting emails at like after midnight, and then more emails at like 4 a.m. And it's just not the life that I wanted to live. I respect people who do it, but I want to enjoy life too. And not saying people that do that don't enjoy, their life, but I want to have, I just want to have, I want to have a home life. I have a girlfriend, I have cats. I want to be able to see them and spend time with them. So, I think, my little family, my girlfriend and my cats, I think that brings me some balance. If I've had a hard day, or if I'm struggling, just feeling upset about not being where I want to be in life. I think just spending time with them kind of brings me back down to earth. I also like to meditate. I don't do it every day. I try to do it every day, but that kind of brings me down to earth a little bit. Therapy helps too. So I don't know. I
work well with Stephanie Wolfe.
Yeah,
at least once a week. No.
Yeah, no, it's
helpful.
Your show is helpful. It makes me when I'm producing, and I often, especially when the shows that are more focused on physical health, it makes me think, I shouldn't have had Chick-fil-A today. What am I doing?
Awesome. Well, it's good to have you think those thoughts. I mean, like I say, as far as thinking through and being mindful about your choices and what you're doing and finding balance, and that's going to be different for everybody. Sometimes I'll turn on music and dance around my kitchen, or, read a book and just curl up with a blankie, by the fire in the winter, or, things that just kind of remind you of what life is really all about.
Right.
It's not about that job. It's not about that paycheck. It's about the people that you get to share the life with.
Yeah, no, I agree. That's the true human experience, in my opinion.
Yes. So the final is, and will you succeed? Yes, you will indeed. 98.75% guaranteed, Dan. So I have so enjoyed this time with you. Is there some closing thoughts or something, like, say somebody's listening to us, today? Maybe they've been in that waiting phase and just waiting for the big break, or maybe they're just tired of waiting. Maybe they're frustrated with their life, or they're not necessarily feeling the balance that you've been sharing or we've been talking about. So what are your final thoughts to those?
Yeah, I would just say to anyone in that situation, if there's something you want to do, anything, regardless of if you think it's possible, I'd say if there's something that you want to do, take some kind of steps towards it. Just take one small step towards it, and then take another small step after that. And it could be something that you, even if it's something you think there's no way you'll ever be able to do, just try taking steps towards it and see how far you can get. And there's going to be obstacles in the road, like we talked about it. There's going to be people who misunderstand you along the way. There's gonna be people who kind of put you down along the way.
The career teacher.
Yeah, exactly. I wish I knew her name so I could call her out. But no, I'm just kidding. Yeah, exactly. There's always gonna be things that are gonna say, you don't need to be wasting your time with this. But if it's something that you feel like you truly want to do, then there's no reason to not try to do it. And then I'd also just say that I think like how you talk to yourself is really important. And even like, because I'm all the time, fighting negative thoughts and fighting like thoughts of like, oh, I'm not good enough, I'm not doing enough, and I have to, I have to remind myself like, no, I'm okay. It could be a lot worse, even out loud. If I'm in my car, I'll say these things to myself out loud, like positive affirmations.
Good.
Like I'm okay. Like everything's okay. Things could be a lot worse. I'm doing well. I'm doing this. I have this. I've got these good things in my life. Like it's some people might think it's weird to talk to yourself, but it's
Not at all. Not to this health coach.
Yeah. There's
Self-talk.
something about hearing words out loud, even if they're coming from your own mouth.
That's right. We believe what we say.
Exactly. It's extremely helpful. And like you have a choice to either be, life is gonna really stink sometimes, and you have you always have a choice to either just focus on the stuff that stinks or focus on the stuff that's good. And there's no reason not to just focus on the good, because there's no point in focusing on the bad stuff.
There you
It doesn't
go.
help at all.
Oh, I love it. Okay, so my closing thoughts kind of go along with that, really. So you pretty much hit the nail on the head as to some
Sorry
of the
if
things.
I stole what you were going to say.
No, it's great, because we were saying the same thing, only, I'm 40 years older. Well, not 40 years old, 30 years old or whatever, than you are. And so there's a lot between us, thinking about all these things. And so to me, the fact that I'm still feeling this way like you at 30, me at 65.
Well, that's one thing I've feel like I've learned a lot from you, and I've been grateful to be able to produce your show every week, because I do learn a lot from you, and I have been inspired by you and your husband. Kind of just the whole theme of this show, the fact that you tell me, that you still don't know what you want to do when you grow up, that inspires me a lot. And if there's any listeners that are in my same situation, in my same area in life where they're still kind of trying to find their purpose, I'm sure it inspires them too. It's, you don't have to be just a one thing person, which I thought for the longest time you did, where you just, you go to college, you study something, and then you make a career in that. And a lot of people do that. And like you said earlier, there's nothing wrong with that, but there's also nothing wrong with exploring a lot of different things in life. And it's actually kind of a good thing, because then you have a lot, it widens your horizon of just who you are.
Widens your horizon. So growing up is confusing, and really for those of you that are listening and maybe you've got it all figured out and you're living on purpose, and well done for you. But really this is more of a challenge, I think, than what a lot of people realize, what we've been talking about today. So I always say, be kind, be patient, be supportive. If you've got people around you that maybe don't have it all figured out, like Dan or Stephanie, then, just be kind to them, be patient and be supportive. It means different things to different people, and we're all growing and improving and honing our skills and defining and redefining. And I think that all should be applauded. So just because the opposite is quitting, and I've never been a quitter, I find a way around it or over it or under it, or, or at least just moving on, like you said. So don't quit, don't give up if you're a listener and you're in that situation. Because the most amazing thing could be right around the corner. Who knows? And maybe you're like me and you suffered maybe at your own hands and your own choices and decisions, and your mess can become your message, like mine. And so I just want to end with asking a few questions. You can think about it on your own. What small changes can you make today that might enhance your tomorrow? Don't think so far down the road is what I'm saying with that. It's not just about next year, next, decade, what I want to accomplish, but what can I accomplish today, or what can I do today, like Dan said, that can enhance my tomorrow? The next question is, what does personal development mean to you? And it means different things to different people. So podcasts are out there to help you. I try to keep mine really, really positive, except for the breakfast cereal comments. But there's always room for improvement. So, we've got to move forward. That's the thing. And Dan said it best, just that next step. And when I talk to my clients, I always say what's now and what's next. That's what matters. And so if we think too far down the road, it's easy to compare ourselves or feel, inadequate in some way. So thank you for listening today. I'm so excited to have Dan Braverman, and not a part of the Braverman parenthood TV show, but I do love that show and the Braverman. So thank you, Dan. I appreciate you so much for your producing my show and also for being a guest with me today.
No, thank you, Stephanie. This was a lot of fun, and I appreciate you a lot too.
Thanks.
When you grow up, what do you want to
All right, folks, you've been listening to Work Well with Stephanie Wolfe, brought to you by the Whole Food Health Coach LLC, where we make your goals our goals, and you're never alone on your wellness journey. For information about our corporate programs and or our virtual classes or our individual coaching programs or our career training center. No, we don't have that yet, but go to wholefoodhealthcoach.com. Our coaching is available virtually anywhere in the country. I'm Stephanie Wolfe, wishing you well personally and professionally. See you next week live or on your favorite podcast channel. Until then, choose life.